game day. Turn it up! We're on! Mike's live! Spotlight! This is where we belong. From the first snap, tip off, face off, whistle, breaking down the big plays. Pressure, missiles, box scores, big boards, clutch in the fourth, every huddle, every hustle from the south to the north. Talking sports with your WL Thomas. Say the word and we'll be honest. From the crowd to the press box, all of it, we're breaking it down, we're living it. Talking sports with your WL Thomas. Talking sports. Yeah, yeah. This is where the heart is.
Welcome in, everybody. What is going on? This is Talking Sports. I'm your host, UWL Thomas. And let me tell you right off the bat, this episode is a big one. And that's why I wanted to open with my new intro music that I made online. This afternoon, we are talking banana ball. We are talking energy. We are talking vibes. From packed stadiums, nonstop action, and a game that really, in my opinion, humbly flipped baseball on its head. We're pulling back the curtain on what it's really like to call banana ball at the highest level. My guest today is one of the voices of bringing the most entertaining brands of baseball on the planet straight to the people. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Texas Tailgaters broadcaster Brett Loftis.
Wow, Thomas, that's one of the best intros I've ever had, man. I've been blessed to have a few of those. That was really good, man. I appreciate you having me on the show. And if that didn't fire you up, something's wrong with your fire upper right there. That was good stuff, man.
Dude, thank you so much, man. Yeah, so I got to say one more thing, guys. Buckle up because this show, it is going to be an absolute show. It's going to be electric. We're going to have it all for you. So, man, oh man. Brett, I cannot contain my excitement to have you on. For the audience, obviously, y'all know that I've had national sports talk radio show host and Sirius XM NBA host David Shepard on 3 times in the past. Who knows? Maybe we'll do the same with Brett Loftis, potentially leading up to his season, maybe during the season too. But obviously, Banana Ball, very busy guy, so we'll just see how things go. But Brett, to start, for those who don't know you, let's just go all the way back to the beginning. How did broadcasting first grab you? And then we'll eventually work our way into Banana Ball and everything. But just take me back to the beginning. How did broadcasting first grab you?
Yeah, I wanted to be a broadcaster since I was 4 years old, man. Grew up in a house watching the Braves on TBS and, Skip Carey and all those guys and Chip Carey, and grew up watching the Braves and, knew I wanted to do broadcasting. Grew up watching NASCAR, those tones of Alan Bestwick and all those guys, watching Fox and CBS and NFL football and college football. So no, I wanted to be a broadcaster. I was 4. I went to, out of high school, went to Piedmont University. It's a small Division III school in Northeast Georgia. Was blessed, all 3 years that I was there to be the voice of the school. I was up away for a little bit in Wisconsin Rapids, Wisconsin. When I was in the Northwoods League, Woodbat.
Yes, sir. Shout out
for summer.
Shout out to the Northwoods League, man. It's the best summer collegiate baseball league there is.
Man, it's a grind. It prepares you for whatever and whatever where you go after that. So that was in North Dakota for nearly 2 years, working for a television network called Beck TV. Just strictly play-by-play. It was not an MMJ, so that was a blessing. And then after that, did some sports talk radio stuff with Fox Sports locally in South Carolina, and then did some freelance play-by-play stuff with ESPN on their digital platforms and ESPN Plus. And then from there, got the job here. Started here last April, and was here during the inaugural season for the Texas Tailgaters, and got to do a lot of cool stuff, man. So just living my dreams to be 24 years old and knowing what I wanted to do, pretty much my whole life. So that's be a play-by-play guy.
Yes, sir. So my next question for you is kind of when was that moment kind of during your early broadcasting journey when you realized like, hey, like I might be able to do this like for real, if you know what I mean, or just however best you want to
Um,
word that, I
I
guess.
think for me, starting at 18, um, like I said, I always knew that I wanted to do it, and I always knew that the good Lord had gifted me with the ability to speak, and speak in public. But it's different to stand up behind a podium with a speech than get on air and do play by play. While a lot of the same qualities kind of overlap, right? Like it's two totally different things. So I would probably say I knew I could do it for real, and that I really could potentially make it to the national level was my senior year in college. I had a call. It was a walk-off. Actually, somebody posted on Facebook this morning and tagged me in it. I hadn't seen it in a little bit, but it was a call that went viral. Golf Digest wrote an editorial about it, and then about 9 days after that, Bob Costas gave me a call, and was on HBO show Back on the Record with Bob Costas, and I still talk to Bob to this day. He's one of my really good mentors. Still send him a lot of my tape. So yeah, I think when I had that viral moment my senior year of college, I think it was kind of a light bulb that went off for me to say, like, I could do this. I could be a national sound, but also at the same time, like, I think I let that motivate me too, because I didn't want that to be my 15 seconds of fame and fizzle out. At the same time, like, it was a great moment, and it's still something great to look back on to this day, and will be something I tell my kids about. Right at 20, being to be on HBO with Bob Costas and make that connection. It still was like for me, like I don't want this to be all that I do in my career, like the biggest moment of my career. So I would say that's probably the moment where everything kind of clicked. It was like, yeah, I could really take this somewhere.
Sounds good. All right, it's time to transition to banana ball. So,
All
Brett,
right.
um, how did that opportunity with the Texas Tailgaters like come about? Can you take us through that entire journey, just kind of, I guess, play by play? Well, not exactly entirely play by play, but kind of give us in the audience as a whole, just kind of a summary of how that exactly came to be, and better yet, for the entire audience as well, just how the Texas Tailgaters team came to be as well. So combine two and two, I guess there.
Yeah, it was a crazy deal. So I'm in a agency called the Sportscasters Talent Agency of America, run by John Chiletic, awesome human being. And John had put out a filler on our like you should call it our message page or our board page or whatever. And it said he was looking for a very young, enthusiastic, over the top broadcaster in a good way, and had mentioned nothing of the Bananas or the organization. And a good friend of mine that I worked with in North Dakota at Beck, who's now the voice of You Mary, a Division two there in Bismarck, Dan Doherty, got on there and commented and said, "This sounds exactly like Brett Loftis." So John texted me and was like, "Hey, Brett, you get recommended for this. This is what this is. This is what the Savannah Bananas. They're looking for a broadcast entertainer, and kind of sent me what they were looking for and what the application process looked like. And I had to make some audition videos and had some written prompts and things that I had to do, and quickly submitted that in late December of 2024. And at this point, to be quite honest with you, Tommy, I didn't know anything about the Texas Tailgaters. The Texas Tailgaters would have been unveiled in October of 2024. I applied in late December of 2024. So I wore a cowboy hat in my application video. And again, I had no idea about the Texas Tailgaters. And then I had my first interview with Jesse Cole and Yvonne Prezak in early of February 2025. And had my interview, got invited to do a test drive, which was an in-person weekend visit in early March of last year. And then 10 days later after that, I got a job offer, and then off we went. And I think, to your point about kind of figuring out what the Texas Tailgaters are, like I said, at that point when I applied, I didn't even know they existed, but neither did a few people that obviously followed the sport and would have followed the city selection show. Like, they seen him get rolled out in late 2024. But I think when I came in, we were still trying to build an audience, still trying to build a brand. And that's kind of what we did in 2025. And felt like we had a great inaugural season. The first Banana Ball team ever have a headliner tour in their first year. So it was a special year, and to be able to be a part of building something like the Tailgaters, and to be brought in to be the guy that was the mouthpiece for that brand in the inaugural season, and now indefinitely, hopefully moving forward. was really special. And, it's something that I always wanted, is to be the voice of a team in my broadcast career, but also be on national television. I've had two goals for myself, and at 24 to get to accomplish both of those and to do them at the same time is a very, very cool deal for me. Very, very cool deal.
Yeah, absolutely. My next question for you also relates to Banana Ball, and that is, what was that first Banana Ball moment that you can remember or recall where you thought, yeah, this isn't normal baseball? And I know, again, you're pretty young, I guess, into the sport of Banana Ball, considering the Texas Tailgaters are only 1 year into their existence, so to speak. But yeah, just kind of go back down memory lane. When was that first Banana Ball moment where you thought, yeah, this isn't traditional baseball?
Yeah, I had watched from the time from the time I had my interview in early February until now. I've tried to watch every Banana Ball game that's been played, whether I've called it or been a part of it or not. And so I was watching. I was watching every weekend. Once I signed in mid to late March until I moved down here in April. And, I had a good grasp of the game, had a good grasp of the rules, kind of knew the flow, at least I thought. And then my second day down here, I called a spring training game between the Tailgaters and the Firefighters. It was not broadcasted anywhere other than internally, but, just to get me on a mic and try to get me in the flow of things, and how quickly things move from the broadcast booth comparative to a regular baseball game. Really having to change the style of broadcast. I like to tell stories and, having to be a lot more concise with stuff like that. Just, again, the entertainment, when walk-ups are happening and when those run celebrations are happening and stuff like that, and just being able to manage that from the broadcast booth and really being able to manage the broadcast. I think that was the first wake-up call for me. I think the one moment that's going to stick out for everybody in the history of the Tailgaters, and it definitely sticks out in my mind, though, is that first weekend in Albuquerque. We lost game one, first ever grand slam in history, Banana Ball. Bryson Bloomer, walked it off in the first round of showdowns, and then game two in our existence, we go to showdowns again, which for those who don't know is our version of extra innings. And we're in round one of showdowns. We scored in the top half of showdowns, bottom half of showdowns. We get a foul out to a fan, which in Banana Ball isn't out if a fan catches it. And that's how we won our first ever game in Albuquerque. And that was it was a wow moment, man. Like, a fan won us our inaugural win in team history. And that's never going to change, right? And that's Banana Ball. It's what we're about here at Fans First Entertainment, and that was such a cool moment that even if you could script it, you couldn't script that. And it was just it was an awesome moment, man. And really, when I woke up and was like, man, like, I want to be here for a really long time, and I'm just so passionate about. I'm obviously passionate about the Tailgaters. I'm passionate about our sport of Banana Ball even more so, and that was awesome.
Yeah. Speaking of, you mentioned Banana Ball rules, and for folks that do not know, there are 11 rules for Banana Ball. I'm not going to I'm going to save your breath here on this one. You can grab a drink of water, but I'm going to let Jesse Cole take this one and to the entire audience. These are the 11 rules to Banana Ball.
Is Banana Ball. And this is the fastest, most entertaining game in sports. Rule number one, win the inning, win the point. In Banana Ball, points are the most important. If you score the most runs in an inning, you get a point. The most points win the game. But in the last inning of Banana Ball, every run counts as a point. Rule number two, there is a 2-hour time limit. No new inning can start when the clock hits 0. Rule number three, no stepping out. If you step out of the batter's box, it is a strike. Rule number 4, no bunting, because bunting sucks. If you bunt, you're thrown out of the game. Rule number 5, batters can steal first. On any pass ball, wild pitch, or any pitch, a batter can take off and try to get first. Rule number 6, no walks allowed. Walks are boring. So in Banana Ball, it becomes a ball for sprint. And the batter will take off and advance to as many bases as he wants until every position player touches the ball. Rule number 7, no mound visits. Nope. Stay in the dugout, stay in your position. Let's play ball. Rule number 8, if a fan catches a foul ball, it is an out. You got that right. In Banana Ball, everything's in play, so you better be ready. Rule number 9, the showdown tiebreaker. If the game is tied at the end of 9 innings or when time expires, we don't just play extra innings in banana ball. It goes down to an ultimate duel, which we call the showdown. It is pitcher versus hitter with one fielder, and the hitter has to score. If both teams tie the first showdown, then it goes down to just pitcher versus hitter with no fielder. And finally, if we're still tied after 2 showdowns, the third showdown is pitcher versus hitter, one fielder, and bases loaded, and all the runs count as a point. Rule number 10, the banana ball challenge rule. Not only does each team have the opportunity to challenge the ruling on the field, but for the first time in sports history, you, the fans, have the opportunity to challenge a ruling on the field. Rule number 11, the golden batter rule. Now, for the first time ever, a team can send up any batter to hit in any spot in the lineup. This is guaranteeing the best possible matchup, the best pitcher versus the best hitter at the end of the game when it matters most. These are the official rules of banana ball.
So there you go, folks. That right there are indeed the 11 rules of banana ball. And Brett, what I find the most interesting and unique about these rules from the Savannah Bananas owner, Jesse Cole, which, by the way, folks, Jesse has wrote I think like 4 or 5 books. The one I'm reading right now is called Fans First, I believe. Actually got it gifted from a good close friend of mine. I would highly recommend you check out any of his books too, because the way that he thinks and the way that he and his wife Emily think is through that lens of fans first. Like what will bring in fans, right? What every single game. Again, I'm giving Brett a moment to rest and get ready for the next question here, but really, banana ball is about opening up the lens to the fans, right? Like, what's something unique? What's something new that you haven't seen in a baseball game? That's what banana ball is trying to bring. So, like, every single game that you watch, or if you are somehow lucky and get on the lottery list and actually go to a game, every single game they try to do new promotions, new entertainment. The Savannah Bananas went to Disneyland and did this whole like Disneyland thing too, because I saw about it from Coach Rack, Robert Anthony Cruz. What a guy, by the way, too. Ain't that so, Brett? But am I wrong? Am I right or am I wrong, Brett? I mean, anything else that you want to add from
Yeah,
those other roles or whatever?
We, like you said, we try to do something different every single night. And Jesse, he talks about it publicly all the time about our idea sessions that we have and how, we have idea sessions in the off season. I've had a lot of those. That's what I've been doing a lot of here recently, and figuring out, what we want to post on social media, figuring out what our shows are going to look like this year from an entertainment perspective, how you want to build those shows, how you want to give the fans something, like you said, that you've never seen before. And whether you come to a game in April or you come to a game in May, or whether you come to a game in February and then you come to a different game in September, we want you to see something different every single time and see something new. And again, like you said, something you've never seen before. So it's so cool getting to work with a guy like Jesse Cole and work for Jesse Cole. A lot of people ask me the best way I can describe it is it must be like it was working at Apple, Steve Jobs early on, or what it was like working with Bill Gates early on at Microsoft. You're working with a genius and working with a guy who's revolutionizing, I think, the way that the entertainment industry and the way the sports industry is going to give their shows and their games and their events to fans for many, many moons to come. So it's truly a blessing. And like you said with the rules, man, it's 11 different rules and a set of rules that are so much different than baseball. And I don't think, listen, we're not trying to rival Major League Baseball, right? I think we're trying to rival Major League Baseball. We wouldn't be playing at their stadiums. We wouldn't have the overlap of fans that we have. Listen, Josh Zalewski and myself are the 2 biggest Braves fans you'll ever meet, and we don't hate Major League Baseball any less because we work for Banana Ball, right? I'm still going to try to watch as many of the 162 that the Atlanta Braves play this year as much as I can, right? But I think what we do is just different, and I think it's very similar to UFC and boxing, right? Like you can like both of those. There's different aspects to it, but you can like both of those. And it's you throw the WWE in there, right? Like it's 3 different entities that can have the overlap of fans. I think Major League Baseball and Banana Ball, they do things really, really well. Where Major League Baseball has the best baseball players in the world, we have the best baseball players in the world who can also be the best entertainers in between those lines in the world. And that's probably the biggest difference. And again, you can like both of them. You don't have to hate one or the other. So I think that's where our 11 rules kind of helps differentiates and makes us the most entertaining sport in the universe.
Absolutely. Brett, let's transition a little bit more to the broadcast side of things. And my next question for you is, how different is your prep for a banana ball broadcast compared to a traditional broadcast? I'm just going to throw out, say, like Jim Nantz when he does like an NFL football game on CBS Sports with Tony Romo, or think of like Kevin Harlan and Trent Green and Melanie Collins. I'm just throwing out some big names, some big heavy hitters. But yeah, how different is banana ball prep compared to like a traditional broadcast on CBS, on Fox, Mike Tirico, NBC, you name it?
I would say your production meetings are a little bit different, a little bit more informal, right? Like I'm not going to sit down and schedule a production meeting with Joe Mikulik or Tyler Gillum or the skippers, right? I'm just going to catch them at the yard and just talk to them, because they're good friends, right? I'm not going to, you know, find Rack and tell him that I need to talk to him for 15 minutes. I'm just going to go down to the cage at BP and holler at Rack and talk to him about whatever, or Travis Munoz or whatever player you want to throw out there. Like yesterday, some of the players are starting to get back into town, starting to be over at the stadium. So walk over to the stadium and meet the new guys, talk to them about life. I think for us here, that's all I've been doing is preparing my bios, and that's all I've been doing this whole week. So I think there's a lot of overlap. It's much of the same, but very different at the same time, because these are your coworkers, right? These are your guys that you're going to be on planes with. These are your guys you're going to be eating with. These are guys and gals that you're traveling with. Like, they become family over the next 8 or 9 months. So you get to know them on a personal basis, and it's different from the sense that if I need to know something from a player, or I need to know something from whomever, I can just send them a text message and be like, hey, X, Y, and Z, versus, and games past and years past and games that I called, you got to set up a full production meeting and you got to get information that way. And you pretty much only have about 30 to 45 minutes to get that information that you can't find on the Google machine. So, that's probably the biggest difference here, is that, you're so ingratiated in this environment, and just being to be around these great people every day, you get to know them, and you get to know them beyond a professional sense and a personal sense, which is such a blessing.
So true. So true, Brett. And I think what sticks out to me is the fact that these players are just normal humans as well, too.
Yeah.
And not only that, but speaking of the Northwoods League, I'm going to kind of harken back a little bit to that. One of our former Northwoods League baseball stars who played for my home team here in La Crosse, Wisconsin, the La Crosse Loggers. Roll Logs, baby. You already know I was going to throw that in there, but Matt Danford is now with you guys too. So I find that pretty cool. These players come from all different backgrounds and areas as well too. You have I'm just thinking Savannah Bananas off the top of the dome, but you have like a breakdancing first base coach. You have you have the Mananas. You have Princess Potassium. You have Split, the mascot, which obviously, of course, you need a mascot. You have the Savannah Bananas pep band. You have the ticket scanners. The name's not coming to me off the top of my head, at least for the banana side. But they have these specially dedicated, unique,
scanners.
Thank you, the banana scanners. These special. The point though is they have these special, unique, dedicated roles. And again, Jesse Cole's brain, God bless him. I love how his brain works. And I hope personally, Brett, and I mean this genuinely, and to the entire audience too out there when I say it, I hope to use some of his brain when I go forward in life with my future career into sports media, sports broadcasting, doing broadcasts on a big stage, kind of that stuff as well. So with the time we have left here, Brett, I might combine some of these questions so that way we have time to answer as many or all of them if we can. So I'm going to start here. calling banana ball requires humor, timing, and definitely, no question, adaptability. So, how do you balance entertainment with real play-by-play? And with that, what's the hardest thing to call live when chaos is happening everywhere? So, if you just want to kind of combine those two questions into one.
Yeah, I would say the biggest thing is to answer the play-by-play and entertainment part. I've always tried to integrate entertainment into my play-by-play. My professor in college, the biggest thing he told me was, Brett, you can't make the game entertaining, you make the broadcast entertaining. Because inevitably you're going to call blowouts when you're calling regular sports, right? And so I would always try to make my broadcast feel as if I'm sitting in the couch with you in your living room and we're watching it together and we're boys. And the only thing that I know is that I had to prep for this game because it's what I do for a living. So I always want to make it like you're watching the game with your boy, you're watching the game with your friend, and just feel like that I am who I am in real life, and that's really who I want to be as your friend on air, and bring that energy and that excitement, and I want to make you feel something emotionally, happy, sadness when your team doesn't do well. The highs are the highs and the lows are the lows, because inevitably that's why we love sports, because it makes us feel something, and I feel like the
Yeah.
broadcasters being the mouthpiece of that, play a big part of that. So from an entertainment standpoint, I feel like for me, that was probably, could be an adjustment for some, but for me, I've always tried to have that in my broadcast because, the best, they do that. They make broadcasts entertaining no matter what. And I've tried to study some of those guys, your Gus Johnsons, your Eric Collins, guys like Kevin Harlan. And when you study what those guys have done, their broadcasts entertaining regardless. I would say for an entertainment moment, or a chaos moment, uh, for me, we talk about our five senses that human beings have, right? I think for me, broadcasting has just become like that sixth sense for me, that instinct,
Mhm.
and play by play, and as many reps as you can get as possible to any young broadcaster. That's what's you're going to be able to lean on inevitably. So when things seem to go sideways on a broadcast, or you have that moment of chaos, or whatever it may be here in Banana Ball, I think you just lean back on your instinct. And again, this is just me speaking. I just lean back
Sure.
on my instincts, and that's where I feel like I can truly be at my best and kind of manage the situation, and still make it entertaining and informational, and like I said, most important, entertaining. So that's just leaning back on those instincts for me
Mhm.
in those moments is the biggest safety valve, if you will.
Yeah. So my next couple questions that I'm gonna rapidly fire off to you.
All right.
First one, have you ever had to completely abandon your plan mid-broadcast and just ride the moment? Number two, what's the wildest thing you've ever had to describe on air? And number three, was there a call that made you think, okay, that one actually landed? Kind of in that realm, so to speak. So, however you want to answer
I
those
don't think
three.
I don't think I go in any broadcast with a plan. I think that for me, I've just always done that. Like I don't even write a script to for broadcast opens. I have
Yep.
about 4 to 5 bullet points in my head that I want to hit on, and that's it. So I've always, I was did theater and stuff growing up as well, and improv and all that good stuff. So I feel like for me, if you know all the information, and you know how you want to communicate it in the moment, for me has always been the best. Um, what was the second one you asked? The second question you had
The,
there?
the, the second question was, what's the wildest thing you've ever had to describe on air?
Wow.
I know that's a big question for you.
Probably, probably Noah Fisher's walk up in Frisco last year. He took off his
Yeah.
shirt and was getting sprayed with a water hose. And I believe I described it along the lines of he's hot and he's wet. And we'll leave that at that.
I
It
love
was a
it.
warm night, and I may or may not have got a call from my mother after that broadcast. So that was
Your
uh, that
mom.
was that was the yeah, yeah. My mom and dad watch every broadcast. So
Oh,
if I
bless
say
them.
something a little too out of pocket,
Yeah.
they'll be sure to let me know. And then the last one, remind me of that one more time.
Yeah, you got it. Was there a call that made you think, okay, that
Oh
one
yeah,
actually
yeah,
landed kind of in that realm, you know what I mean? Like
yeah.
some
So
surprise moments.
funny story. When I started here, Ty Jackson, I came and watched him as a CPL banana back in 2021, outfielder. We call him Pookie, Ty Jackson. And so
Yeah.
Ty and I, we got down here. We were only on 4 different weekends with the bananas, but I said, I told myself in April when I got hired, and like I said, I don't script calls. Joe Davis says he knows what he's going to say in some moments, and that if you don't know and you just go off the cuff, then he said he made a quote about the Freddie home run. I don't personally do that, but I have done that once. And I said if I was ever blessed enough to call Bananas game that and Ty Jackson hit a home run, which he had not hit one in Banana Ball coming into this year, I was just going to scream Pookie, and that's what I was going to do because that's what we call him. And so Biko had to attend a wedding the Houston weekend. So that means that the Tailgaters are going to play the Bananas, and I had been asked to assume the seat of Biko, which was a very big ask. You know, Biko had never missed a Banana Ball game ever, and since Banana Ball started, and so that was a big seat to step into. It was my first game doing play-by-play on national television, and sure enough, man, bottom of the first, second at bat for the Bananas, Ty Jackson comes up and hits one of the Crawford boxes, and I was like, the fact that I get to call a Bananas game on national TV and they're playing my beloved Tailgaters is special enough. But then this guy, Ty Jackson, who I'd already said, if he hits a home run and it's his first career Banana Ball home run, I'm going to scream Pookie. And I did, and it was an awesome moment, man. It was one of my favorite non-Tailgater moments of the whole year.
And he delivered for you, no question.
Yeah.
We only have a few minutes left here with you, Brett. So again, I'm going to rapid fire some more at you. What's something listeners didn't see or hear that happened behind the scenes during your time so far serving as the Texas Tailgaters broadcaster? Next one is more practical. For someone trying to break into sports broadcasting, what skill matters most early on? What do young broadcasters underestimate about the job? And if you could redo one thing early in your career, what would it be?
I think behind the scenes, man, it's just people, here just being able to be so close with everybody. The culture that we have here, no matter if it's the front office staff, no matter if it's the players, no matter whom it is, that's my favorite thing about working here and how that intertwines with the broadcast. I think the second question you asked, it was about
The wildest thing you've ever had to describe.
yeah.
Oh, no, wait. Yes. No, we already did that one. I'm sorry about that. It was for someone trying to break into sports broadcasting, like
Yeah,
myself.
I would say
What skill matters most?
connections, man, are so important to be connected with those in the industry, and that kind of ties into the third question you had there for young broadcasters. I think just having connections and reps, man, like connections and reps are the two biggest things. You make connections with people in the industry, you reach out to them. Not asking them for anything, just wanting to talk to them and pick their brain is very big. And then having reps, because the more reps you get, the more feedback you listen to, the more you apply that to your broadcast, the more reps, the better you're going to get. And having those connections and having people to hear that tape is going to be very important. And if I could go back and change anything early on in my broadcasting career, man, honestly, I wouldn't. I think every lesson has been a learned lesson. I've had some hiccups on air. I've had some things I probably shouldn't have said. I had some things I probably shouldn't have did, but at the end of the day, man, like I think it's all a learned lesson because love to make those mistakes early on and to get those out of my system. And like I said, it was a blessing, and I wouldn't change anything, truthfully. And I know it's such a cliche answer, but it's the truth. I wouldn't change anything of my broadcast career.
Yeah, I love that, Brett. Well, that's really, Brett, all the questions I got for you on my end. I want to say thank you so much for hopping on Talking Sports with UWL Thomas here. Just being able to learn and look up to someone like you, who again started from rock bottom and boom, like that. Look where you are now. You're crushing it. You're doing great stuff, my brother, and I can't wait to see what you do in year two with the Texas Tailgaters. Watching my guy Mac Danford continue to crush it, and
Yeah, Mac D,
watching.
man, he's good people. He's good
Yes,
people. One of my
sir.
best friends, man. He's good friends. Thomas, I appreciate you having me on. It means a lot. I love the industry, love the young broadcasters, love guys trying to break in. We've all been there, and it's something I'm very passionate about. So I appreciate you having me on, and hopefully this won't be the last time.
I'm hoping, like I said in the opening monologue. I mean, just like with National Sports Talk radio show host and Sirius XM NBA host David Shepard, I'm hoping to get you on many more times, as long as it works into both of our busy schedules, man. So, a true blessing and honor, ladies and gentlemen. Brett Loftis. Thanks, Brett.